Members, on third reading. Item number 1, for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 10 with amendments by Assemblymember Bloom.
Mr. Bloom on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Today I am presenting the amendments to Extraordinary Session Bill ABX 210, which seeks to give as much flexibility as possible to county supervisors in determining if and how each county should formulate a local tobacco tax. These amendments are designed to give further guidance and flexibility on a range of options for the counties to implement a tax should they decide to do so. The amendments do the following. They define distributing as making a sale in a county where a local tobacco tax has not already been levied by that county. Tobacco distributors are responsible for paying the tax on tobacco products, and this amendment clarifies when a county tax would be assessed. It authorizes counties to enter into an agreement with one another to share the administrative costs of implementing a county tobacco tax, authorizes the Board of Equalization to contract with counties to administer the tax so long as there is no cost to the state. It authorizes the Board of Equalization to access county records upon request of the county to facilitate proper administration of such a tax on a county's behalf. It establishes on January 1, 2017 that will be the bill's operative date to give the impacted parties time to plan for potential local implementation. And it conforms Revenue and Tax Code sections 30462 and 30111 to allow counties to tax tobacco. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Mr. Breaux.
Speaker, we are without objection to the amendments.
Without objection, we'll take a voice vote on these amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bills out to print and back on file. Ms. Garcia, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 63 and Assembly Rule 69 to allow Assemblymember Bloom to take up AB 10 in mock-up form without reference to file for purpose of third reading.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Without objection, Mr. Breaux, you're recognized.
We object, and we ask for a roll call vote. We object to the wharfing of this.
Thank you, Mr. Breaux. Members, this is going to be a procedural vote on suspension of the rules. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote, and Mr. Breaux is asking for a no vote on the suspension of the rules. It's a procedural vote, members. Clerk will open the roll. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote. Mr. Breaux is asking for a no vote on suspension of the rules. Takes 40 votes. Majority of the 79-member House on suspension of the rules. Clerk will close the roll. Ayes 49, noes 26. Rules are suspended. Members, we are going to the bill in chief. Without reference to file, this is AB 10 by Mr. Bloom. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 10 by Assemblymember Bloom, enacting the local government.
Mr. Bloom, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I am presenting now ABX 210, a bill that allows counties to place a local tobacco tax measure on the ballot for a public vote. California has one of the lowest tobacco taxes in the country. We rank 35th with an 87-cent tax per pack compared to the national average of almost twice that. The national average is $1.60. The rates in California have not been raised in over 15 years, and yet smoking continues to be the leading cause of preventable death in our country. At least 30% of cancer deaths and 87% of all lung cancer deaths are caused by smoking. Nationally, 1 out of every 5 deaths is attributable to smoking, 1 out of every 5. In California, 40,000 people lose their lives to tobacco-related illnesses each year, and tens of thousands of Californians struggle every day because of tobacco-related illness. This is a public health crisis. It is our public health crisis. Treatment for these ailments is often expensive, as you all know. Medi-Cal spends $3.5 billion in taxpayer dollars paying for tobacco-related illnesses. If our goal is to reduce smoking and disease, and it certainly should be, then we know that tobacco taxes work. For every 10% increase in the price of cigarettes, there is a 4% reduction in overall cigarette consumption and a 6.5% reduction in youth consumption. This is one of the reasons why this bill is so important. Young people. The Surgeon General projects that without a major reversal in trends, listen to this number, folks, 5.6 million youth living today from age 0 to 17 will die prematurely from tobacco use. That's 5.6 million preventable premature deaths. Today, it is estimated that 16% of high school students are addicted to cigarettes, and 1 in 4 use some form of tobacco. Though there is widespread education on the dangers of tobacco, availability and deceptive marketing lures our youth to try these dangerous products. Members, I ask today that you support this measure and take an important step towards fighting tobacco addiction and tobacco-related illness. Why is that? Because ABX 210 will allow California counties to join over 600 local jurisdictions nationwide that have their own cigarette tax rates or fees. These jurisdictions bring in more than $430 million in annual revenue and work effectively to reduce smoking rates, especially amongst youth. And they decrease smoking-caused death, disease, and costs. In fact, increasing the cost of cigarettes is one of the most powerful and direct ways to reduce smoking. This is simply a fact. Studies have shown that youth and low-income adults are especially likely to quit or reduce smoking when prices increase. And those two cohorts are those who are hardest hit by the ills of smoking. Our locals are well equipped to know how to fight tobacco addiction. It's their job. They handle health. This bill allows the Board of Supervisors of a county to propose such measures to their constituents. ABX 210 is a sensible measure to help counties reduce tobacco use and save lives, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Mr. Gallagher, you are recognized.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Once again, the subject matter of this bill is not properly before this body because of the subject matter of the second extraordinary session. It's also not keyed as a two-thirds vote. It should be, because we're talking about tax increases here. We're changing the law regarding taxes. It is subject to a two-thirds vote. Should be keyed as a two-thirds vote. So I would ask your ruling on those issues, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Gallagher, Legislative Counsel has opined that this is a majority vote bill. And for the items previously noted, there are health impacts related to this bill. It's germane to a special session related to health care impacts on California. The point of order is not well taken. Mr. Gallagher.
Ruling, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Gallagher is appealing the decision of the chair. Requires a second. Seconded by Mr. Wilk, that the decision of the chair be overturned. This is going to be a procedural item on sustaining the ruling of the chair. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote. Mr. Gallagher is asking for a no vote. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who wish to vote. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote, that the decision of the chair be sustained. Mr. Gallagher is asking for a no vote. Requires a majority of those present and voting. Ayes, clerk will close the roll. Ayes 47, noes 26 on the procedural item. The ayes have it. The chair's decision is upheld. Motion fails. All debate having ceased on this item, Mr. Gallagher, for what purpose do you rise?
On the item,
please
Mr.
proceed.
Speaker. My fundamental problem with this is, members, we just amended this bill like 5 minutes ago, and now we're taking it up again. When has that happened on this floor? All year last year, what I recall, you make an amendment, you got to wait until the next legislative session day to have that item taken up. And we're just rushing this through. And oh, by the way, this changes taxes in the state, and it's not keyed two-thirds. So we're not following procedure. We're not following procedure regarding the taxes on our citizens, and we're just going to rush this through. Again, what is the urgency? And again, my fundamental disagreement with this bill is that this bill is about believing in the coercive power of government rather than trusting the free marketplace of ideas. Now, in my local county where I came from, Sutter County, before I came into this body, our public health department came together and formed a public information campaign to talk to young kids about smoking and about eating healthy, because diabetes is also an issue in my community. That's about the marketplace of ideas. That's about getting information out to people so they can make good decisions. All of these bills are about the coercive power of government, forcing people to do things that you want them to do and not trusting them to make decisions based on information that's already out there in the marketplace. That's why I oppose these bills. But the procedure is just as, if not more, important. Again, amended today, we're taking it up, we're changing tax law. Oh, no big deal. The people don't need to have their voices heard on this. We don't need to have committees on this. We don't need to wait, at least 72 hours to have this in writing so maybe some people can actually see what this bill does and have some ability to speak into the process, but we don't care about that. Come on, this is not a party issue. It really isn't. We're a new class. I always hear people talking about, oh man, there's new classes coming in here. We're going to do things differently. Well, show it.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Mr. Harper, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The message I'm receiving here is that the author may think it's pretty difficult to be able to get two-thirds to get a tax increase here for tobacco. So let's go ahead and bypass that situation, and let's make it so that it's easier for those taxes to just simply be increased at the county or other level. So this is basically a vote to just increase taxes, but to make sure that it's done through another body. And I would submit that just because taxes haven't been increased in a while, it's not a good reason to increase those taxes today, and certainly not a reason to pawn off on the counties to increase those taxes today. It's not a good argument. But I would submit that if really it was the goal to increase taxes, we should own it here. It should be a two-thirds vote. It should be processed here. I know that people like to attach something popular to a tax increase, whether it be transportation or something like that we still don't seem to address in the budget, but we attach to a special session. But let's be legitimate. Let's be forthright. This whole process of this special session stinks, and this whole process of trying to bypass this body with its two-thirds vote also stinks. I urge a no vote.
Mr. Wagner, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to rise in opposition, and I want to focus briefly on the two-thirds issue as well. Both in this bill and in the immediately preceding bill, the question of two-thirds came up, and why is this bill keyed as it is and not as it should be, in our view, under the Constitution? And the answer was, well, because Ledge Council says so. That's not actually an answer. That's not an explanation. That's not a rationale. That doesn't say why. It just says, look to this authority and they say so. It doesn't give any rule, any rationale, any reason. It's merely an appeal and a way to dodge the question, which I said in my floor speech last time was probably what was going to happen. Indeed, it did. So let's talk for a minute about Ledge Council. They're fantastic. As a lawyer, I've worked with them very closely. Indeed, Ledge Council just got done protecting the integrity of this House and the smaller House before the California Supreme Court in a matter that I was personally involved with. They did magnificent work. They are our lawyers. We are their clients. And it is the responsibility of the client to get the best legal advice possible and then decide how you're going to act in the face of that legal advice. All we've been told here is that we have an opinion this is not a violation of the Constitution. We don't have a rationale for that. And I think it incumbent upon us as the clients of Ledge Counsel, but more importantly, as those elected ourselves by our constituents to take these hard decisions, we owe it to our constituents to be able to look them in the eye and say, I don't care how you voted in an election a couple of years ago when you put limits on us for 2/3 tax increases. I don't care that you think we shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to do it anyway. Well, I am not prepared, just because an author tells me Ledge Counsel says so, to tell my constituents, I'm going to ignore you. And I don't think anyone in this body ought to be so brazen, especially as we go into an election year, to say to our constituents, I heard you loud and clear on the rules for tax increases, and I'm going to ignore you. And when your constituents ask you why, since it wasn't articulated in answer to my question in the last bill, since it hasn't been articulated at least yet in answer to this question, and the ruling from the chair merely relied on Ledge Counsel, all you're going to be able to say when your constituents look you in the eye and say, why did you ignore me and my vote when I told you what I want to do about tax increases? Why did you ignore us? Oh, my lawyer said so. That's not going to fly on the campaign trail, and it shouldn't. It's not going to fly back in your districts, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't fly on this floor. This is a tax increase, and your constituents and mine made it clear what you ought to do. You ought to vote no.
Mr. Stone, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So yes, let's be honest. Let's be forthright. Let's talk about this bill. It is not a tax increase. It authorizes counties to go to their constituency and see if they're willing to raise taxes. That requires 2/3. That's what the law says. This does not require 2/3. That's why it's keyed as non-fiscal, or that's why it's keyed as not requiring a 2/3 vote. So it allows those counties around the state to raise money if they want through their taxation, through that conversation with their constituency, to raise the money to do, as has been said, the tobacco education, to go out and work with businesses and enforce, to do whatever program it is they want to try and reduce smoking in their communities. That's what this bill is about. That's why this bill is appropriate, and I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. All debate having ceased on the item, Mr. Bloom, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank my friend from Santa Cruz for making my close for me and responding to the predominant issue about what this bill does and what it doesn't do. So I'll let that simply rest with those remarks. But I do want to reassure my colleague from Yuba City that we will get to diabetes, just not today. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 "41 vote measure. Members, all members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 44, noes 24. Measure passes. So Members are moving to file item number 3 for the purpose of amendment. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Rule 7 with amendments by Assemblymember Mark Stone.
Mr. Stone on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me explain these amendments very briefly. They are technical and they are chaptering out. This bill has, in fact, been in print since August or September, so if you haven't had a chance to read its provisions, then there's not much that I can do about that. So these amendments are chaptering out. I will, for Democrats here, I will point out that you have 2 floor analyses on your desk, and to be very, very clear, if you read the bill, you'll realize that it is not contingent on the enactment of any other bills, as one of the analyses, the revised analysis, takes that section out. So this bill is not, in fact, contingent upon the enactment of any other bill. And with that, I ask for the support for these amendments.
Mr. Breaux.
Speaker, we are in opposition to the amendments to AB 7XX.
Mr. Breaux is objecting to the amendments. We're going to take a we're going to take a roll call vote on the amendments. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. These are on the amendments to AB 7. All members vote who wish to vote. The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 46, noes 22. Amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. Ms. Garcia, you are recognized for your procedural motion.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 63 and Assembly Rule 69 to allow Assemblymember Stone to take up AB 7 in mock-up form without reference to file for purposes of third reading.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Ms. Breaux. Mr. Breaux.
Mr. Speaker, we object and we ask for a roll call vote.
Mr. Breaux is withholding unanimous consent. Ms. Garcia moves. Mr. Santiago seconds that the rules be suspended so we may take up AB 7. Members, this is a procedural vote on a rule suspension. Clerk will open the roll. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote on the rule suspension. Mr. Breaux is asking for a no vote. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote. Mr. Breaux is asking for a no vote. The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 48, noes 23. The rules are suspended. We are going to move to take up AB 7. Clerk will read.
Assembly Rule 7 by Assemblymember Mark Stone, an action relating to employment.
Mr. Stone on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yet another bill that is appropriately before our body, legally here and properly here, that we're asking for a vote on today that addresses the health of our constituents through secondhand smoke. 20-plus years ago, California led the nation in addressing the issue of smoke in the workplace. We have since lost ground to quite a few of the states because there are exceptions to the workplace smoking rules. This bill closes those loopholes and ensures that workers, anyone who is coming into a place of business, is not going to be subjected to secondhand smoke. So we are now applying it to more and more public places where people would expect that smoking will not be allowed. Again, just closing the exclusions, the loopholes that had been in the bill before, catching us back up with most other states. With that, I respectfully ask for your aye votes.
Mr. Wilk, you are recognized.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I'm here reading the governor's
order.
proclamation, and I believe that AB 7 is outside of the parameters set by the Speaker, set by the governor. Therefore, this bill is not germane. And as I read above the dais there, it says it's the duty of the legislature to pass just laws. I think it's just as important to pass them in a just manner, and we're not doing that today. And so I make my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wilk. Smoking in the workplace is directly related to health impacts on Californians as indicated in the proclamation. With regard to this special session of the legislature, the point of order is not well taken. Mr. Wilk, you are recognized.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
Mr. Wilk is appealing the decision of the chair. Mr. Linder seconds. Mr. Wilk, you have 2 minutes to present on the appeal of the decision of the chair.
To be honest with you, Mr. Speaker, I think I did it in my opening comments, so I don't see the need to drag it out. Other than, again, this is outside of what the governor's called for. I think there's a proper way to do it. A lot of these proposals do have merit, but they should be done in a regular session, and rather than hijacking the democratic process and not allowing members of this body or the public to fully see these proposals and vet them properly so we can make the best public policy possible for our constituents.
Thank you, Mr. Wilk. And I will add that it is indeed in the purview of this House that the bill before this body is germane to the special session in the context of the topics listed in the governor's proclamation. Members, this is a procedural vote on sustaining the decision of the chair. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote. In this case, Mr. Wilk is asking for a no vote. As a procedural vote, members, clerk will open the roll. This is on sustaining the decision of the chair. Ms. Garcia is asking for an aye vote on sustaining the decision of the chair. Mr. Wilk is asking for a no vote. Majority of those present and voting. The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 47, noes 24. The decision of the chair has been upheld. Motion is denied. Mr. Stone.
I have presented the bill.
Mr. Stone, you may close if you wish. If not, we will proceed to vote.
Thank you. I do agree that this is appropriately before this body because it is about the efficacy of the healthcare delivery system, secondhand smoke being such a significant driver of negative health outcomes, and closing the loopholes ensures that when anybody goes into a business that they can expect that it be smoke-free and not be subjected to secondhand smoke in order to go into that business, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. With that, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 49, noes 23. The measure passes.